Success over struggle was an idea I had years ago, back in April 2018, because being an entrepreneur, I always want to surround myself with entrepreneurs that are levels ahead of me so I can always keep learning from them and being inspired by them. So I'm super grateful that Sharon, Drew, and Olenka came back over 2 years later and said, yep, we're back on your panel. Like, I didn't have to swap anybody out. They're like, yeah, we love this. We'll do it. So a lot has changed, like I said, in a couple of years. And I came up with this success over struggle, which if you guys think about the acronym, it's SOS, like throw me a life jacket, will you please? Because I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I remember coming up with that name, eating cereal one morning going, that's it, success over struggle. And then from there, going to, where do we go next? When we think of a name, what do we go? Where do we go next? Google. And what do? We search for a domain. And it was available, successoverstruggle.com. Crazy, right? So I'm like, I'm buying this, and this is going to be this whole panel, turn podcast, back to panel. And here we are. So I'm so grateful again to have all three of you here. Thank you for being here for the anniversary. And, like I said, success over struggle to me means that we don't give up. Like, things are going to get hard, but we got to keep persisting. We got to have that perseverance to keep on going. Now, I don't know about the three of you, but I hear a lot of the term, oh, you must be an overnight success. You possibly didn't have to work at that. Did you have to work at that? So I'm going to introduce you to my panel. This is Sharon Bondurant. I love this lady. She is the CEO and founder of the Tech Finders and the Finders, a recruiting company here. And Drew Shaw is the CEO and founder of VoiceThreads. Drew, are you sporting some socks today? He's sporting his product, his mismatched socks for nonprofits. And then, of course, we've got the queen, Olenka Cullinan, over here. She's the CEO of iStart first, but has had several businesses as well. So I'm going to start, Sharon, with you. Overnight success. Do you believe it?
No. Not at all. It's funny because I started my company, it's actually been 24 years. It'll be 24 years. Thank you. It was 24 years ago when my son was born, and I started it in my spare bedroom on the floor as my infant son was sleeping. And the main reason why I started it was that I really didn't want to go back to my day job. I really wanted to be there for my son. So I had this idea that I could go and do recruiting on my own. And back then, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have Google, we didn't have anything. So I just, there really was no plan B. It's just I really didn't want to go back to work. And so that's how my company started. And fast forward, it's been 24 years. So to answer your question and not get too long-winded, definitely not an overnight success. And really, even now, it's like I feel like I'm just getting started, and I'm always learning something new. And it's always a struggle, but it's totally worth it. So, yeah.
Am I answering the same question? Oh yeah, overnight success. I'm convinced. So what? Oh, right. Everyone, he says I look like Paul Mooney, which I do. I accept it. Can't help it. Genetics, whatever. I wish I had his money, but whatever. Right. Overnight success doesn't exist. We live in a world where we see the highlight reels of everything, right? Like, we don't get to see all the late nights and the I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills because my business isn't making enough money. We don't get to see, I might be living out of my car. Like, you get to hear all those things after we see the success, right? But in the process, we always forget, it takes work. And we oftentimes get tricked into thinking oh man, this company just came out of nowhere and started taking over. No. That is not how it works. At least that's not how it works no one who I know, I'll put it that way, no one who I know is an overnight success. And if you hear the stories of some of the most successful people, you know that they had to go through tremendous hardship to get to where they are. And I think about that when I think about my own story too. I was like, Drew, it's rough right now, but you were in really, really good company, right? So if I'm struggling and all these other successful people also struggled, I might be by myself. So I know that eventually, if I just keep plugging away, if I keep consistent and doing the things I know to do and surrounding myself with the people that I'm supposed to surround myself with, then eventually I'm going to get there. But I don't get caught up in this overnight success stuff. I'm convinced it does not exist. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll piggyback of Drew's consistency. You see, I think I'm a big believer in that because, yeah, there is no overnight success, and I definitely believe that talent is overrated and consistency is underrated, right? Because a lot of times I see, and I work with a lot of younger entrepreneurs who unfortunately are very jaded by today's social media and all the highlight reels and all the, you can have a yacht in 24 hours. And I know all of you here have a house in Bali that you all go in right after. Yeah, we're all there. So, but unfortunately because of it, I think we need to really focus on that consistency that's missing from so many businesses a lot of times. And I get to, see that quite a bit because I consult from all types of businesses, from small to large ones. And for me, I tell people all the time, I started when I was 14, grew up at my mother's manufacturing plant, moved here with $450 that I borrowed from my uncle. But yes, when I stand on stage or I sit on the panel, it's fun and glamour. But nobody sees kind of like what everybody was talking about. Nobody sees what's happening behind the scenes and how many times all of us had to sacrifice everything and keep showing up. You see, showing up when you're at the top is super fun. But showing up when you're at the lowest of the low, that's where the legends are born. I'm going to steal the line.
Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I like to share even this event. Some of you are like, damn, that's successful. People. When I started this, I wasn't making a dime. I actually gave all my money to all my vendors because nobody would sponsor this. Because I had to prove the concept. Because I was like, I want to start something where we don't allow the business cards, where we don't have it be like other networking events. And some of you have heard my story. I hosted this at another venue. And I remember I had this big vision. And I think all of us are such visionaries. Like we see the big picture and we hang on to that vision. I remember going to the former venue bar owner and I just said, hey, I think I have this bigger vision. I know this is a great starting point, but I see this. I see us moving here. And he looked at me and I swear I just had to bite my tongue because he's like, Tisha, this is as good as it's going to get right here. And I was like, oh, you didn't. But I was like, you can't bite the hand that feeds you, remember? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take that. I'm not gonna take that personally, but I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. And I held it there for about 8 months, and then I said, I'm out. And then I moved it to Dave & Buster's, and they sponsored everything. Dave knows. It was quite the journey. And now, coming back and finding another venue. The venue was the hardest part to find for an event. Trust me. So I'm very grateful for that. But same thing. This is not an overnight success. This is a 4-year in the making with a pandemic thrown in the middle of it. But thank you so much for sharing all of your stories. Was there ever, so I shared my, oh no, you didn't. Oh no, you didn't. Was there ever a time in your journey as an entrepreneur where someone put you down or they were a troll or they were like, you're not going to do mismatched socks? What are you talking about, Drew? Like that just didn't understand your vision. And you were like, I'm going to hang on to this and I'm going to go for it and I'm going to see it through. Can you think of a time where, you don't have to name names. We need to be polite. This is on camera. But can you think of a time where somebody said something to you where it just fueled you a little more to be like, watch me? Sharon, you got one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that happens a lot, actually. But what I do try to do is to kind of go through life with rose-colored glasses on. And my fiance says all the time, he's like, what? Didn't you hear that or see that comment or whatever? And it's like, I choose not to see it most of the time. And I kind of think of it as I put a bubble around myself and I try. I mean, it's a work in progress and I struggle with it a lot, but I think it's a matter of mindset and really saying to myself, like, whatever I want to accomplish, I'm going to accomplish. And if someone's going to tell me I can't, that it does fuel me. But at the same time, I try to see the positivity and look at it. If someone is saying something negative towards me, it's really on them. It's their issue. It's something. It's not about me. It's about them. So right now, I can't name something specific, but in general, I go through life and I have this bubble around me, and I go, you know what? You're not going to get in my bubble. So I've definitely had to use that a lot. Drew, you were looking like you had something in mind. I think your story might be better than mine.
I can't guarantee that it's going to be better, but even from the inception of my company, so for those of you who don't know my company, we partner with nonprofit organizations, and we use their work as a design inspiration for our socks and other products, but mainly our socks. But when I started the company, I knew nothing about socks. The only thing I knew about socks is how to put them on my feet. And I had to do all of the research myself to find out how to actually manufacture something. And in that search of finding a manufacturer, I went to manufacturers and I'm like, hey, I got money. I got an idea. I can see you the designs, make these socks. And they're like, no, that's okay. We tried this before, it doesn't work. And I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't work? I got money. You have machines. Make my socks. But I very quickly came to learn that finding a manufacturer is like dating, right? Like, you can like them, but they don't have to like you. So I had to overcome that first really big hurdle. It took me like 6 to 7 months to find a manufacturer, just to manufacture socks. And then once the socks were actually here, come across people, oh man, like, I love what you're doing, but I just don't wear mismatched socks. Like, it's just not my thing. Cool, then you're not my customer, that's fine. Or like someone will come up and we'll be at a public event, someone will start like filling the socks and like flipping over, reading the label of the socks, and they're like, how much are these? And I'll tell them, they're like, that's too much. I'm like, then you're not my customer, go sit down, thanks. And so just like Sharon, it's all about creating this bubble around you and how it's all about perspective. I don't really use negativity as a fuel, I just act like it doesn't exist, because I'm grateful that I have a community of people who really support what I'm doing and will push me forward even when I don't feel like moving forward. And I think that's kind of like the secret sauce, right? Like getting people around you who are just as crazy as you are, who are like, you know what, I know the world looks, I know your company's not where it's supposed to be, but we believe in you and push you forward. And the good thing about my company is that we surround ourselves in such goodness with these nonprofit organizations. We storytell, we get to meet amazing people all the time, so it's really easy most days to keep moving forward. But yeah, you kind of have to walk with this sense of like ignorant bliss of you know the negativity exists, but you just like, focus on the thing that actually matters, which is not the negativity. So yeah, did you have something?
Yeah, I have a lot. Well, let's start with something very simple. When I was moving to this country, so I'm quite the mix. I'm Russian, Polish, Ukrainian. Yes, I know it's quite the mix, especially with everything that's happening. But when I chose to move here to this country, right before I turned 21, I actually went to college here in the state of Iowa, out of all places. And I was doing really well in school in Russia, and my dean looked at me and said, I cannot believe you're moving. You'll be washing floors for the rest of your life. And I said, that's okay, I'm gonna take my chances. So when I moved here initially, I lived out of Goodwill apartment, went through the whole college experience like everybody else. And then I cannot tell you countless, I'm talking probably over 100 times of meetings when I would walk into rooms to whether negotiate for things, ask for things, get meetings, for moving my company along. And I would have people ask me, who is your CEO? Where's the CEO of a company? I've sat in meetings before where people, with men, where people came in and said, it's very nice of you to allow your secretary to dress like this. So I'm sharing this because a lot of companies that I coach and work with and consult with today, I work with a lot of women. And I'm gonna share one story that a lot of you will relate, but it's become probably my favorite story. I run an event here in Phoenix. It's a women's conference every year. We've ran it for 7 years. And I was going through a pretty horrible divorce at the time, and the attorney, who shall remain unnamed, on the opposing side made a joke. I use the term sparkle up because my brand is all about sparkle. And they wrote me an email before that event and told me that I was going to be served at my event in front of 150 people, and they signed the email sparkle up. So to say that I was in tears is an understatement, and I had two choices. I could go on stage in front of 150 people and tell them that this may happen, or I could actually hold back and see what happens if it happened. And I chose to walk out on that stage that day and tell them that it could happen. And a year later at my conference, the group of women who kind of have been with me from very beginning bought a bracelet. They brought it on stage and they said, "We want you to open." And inside of a bracelet it said, "Because I effing sparkle." And now every year at the conference, there's a woman who receives a bracelet like that because she shows up and she owns her power no matter what happens around her. And so I'm very much with Drew and Sharon on this one. You have to have the ignorant bliss, because you're either going to show up for what you stand for no matter what people say around you, or you never wanted it really bad in the first place.
That's good. Preach, good. Preach.
How do I drop the mic? That was a boom. Thank you for sharing that story. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Are you just like giving the bird behind your back to people? Oh my goodness. See, I bring these people on the panel with me because every single one of us has a crazy ass story. Every single one of us has gone through some adversity, and we've had to rise from that occasion. We can't stay in the struggle. We know we're better than that. We know we're bigger than that. We know we can grow through it. And I mean, these are amazing humans. And if you haven't yet connected with them, I highly, highly, highly recommend you do. Because these are the types of people that you need in your corner. These are the types of people that will continue to cheer you on. Just like all of you are here cheering this event, me on, supporting this. It's about finding your community. I love what Drew's, "You're not my people. Sit down. You don't like mismatched socks? Sit down. Too expensive? Sit down." I could host an event and be like, "It's free for everybody," but I don't choose to do that because I want the right types of people. If you're not going to spend $20 to come to an event and eat food, you're not my people. So I appreciate all of you, and I want to ask one last question, and then we'll be done with the panel. But I love to give the shameless plug time. So tell the audience, what are you working on? What's coming up in your world? I know Olenka has her summit that's coming up this weekend that I get to go to. I'm so excited. But yes, Sharon, tell me, what's going on in your world? I know you have a lot going on.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been struggling with, well, for a long time, a couple years at least, is that I've had my recruiting firm for 24 years, but there's always been other things that I've wanted to do. I've always wanted to make more of an impact in some way. And I've always struggled with, how do I keep what I'm doing that I love doing and branch out and actually start something else? So at the beginning of this year, I've tried and I've failed. For example, I had launched a podcast about 3 years ago called Messy in the Middle, and I think I did maybe 6 or 7 episodes. I was very excited about it, and I completely underestimated how much time and effort and consistency and all those things. And I stopped it, and I felt really like guilty. I kind of was really down on myself. And it just kept calling to me, and it kept calling to me. So fast forward a couple years now, I took this year and I thought, okay, what do I really want to do, and how can I do it differently now so that I have a different result? So I won't take too much time because I know we're at the end. But so some of the things I started to do differently was I invested in a coach who actually is Olenka. She's been amazing and working with me to not only hold me accountable, but just really be in my corner, helping me strategize and get things done where I was stuck, because I was stuck in a lot of ways. So anyway, that's launching next month. It's called How to Pivot. And it's for people that feel stuck, that feel like they want to do something else, that they want to pivot into either a different career, a different job, become an entrepreneur, whatever that might be. So that's going to launch the beginning of June, and I think, I'm just excited that I'm able to relaunch this and get it all going. So, so that's it. I'm excited, and if you guys want to tune in, then you can connect with me. Probably LinkedIn is the easiest way, just to connect with me at Sharon Bondurant on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I'll definitely connect with you.
Awesome. There's plenty of things you can do for me. So go on your phones right now. No, I'm just kidding. No, go on your phones right now and look up Voice Threads, VOYCE Threads. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of them. Like all of them. Follow all of them. You can also go to our website, VoiceThreads.com, purchase socks. The great thing when you purchase socks or any kind of item from us is that we give back to our nonprofit partners. So we work with everyone from Big Brothers Big Sisters, UMOM, Child Crisis Arizona, Humane Society, all of them. So when you buy a sock that is inspired by those organizations, you also just donate it to them. So do that. I want all my socks gone. Buy them. But coming up, we're known for our socks, but we're an apparel company, right? So we're going to be launching a series of shirts that are cause-related, and we're going to be partnering with a ton of different nonprofits all around the Valley. So whatever your favorite nonprofit is, you can send us direct messages through Instagram. You can send us a message on Facebook. If you have your favorite nonprofit that you are just itching to see out in the community, hit us up, make a connection, and we can create something beautiful for that nonprofit organization and show the rest of the community how they can get connected and harness their generosity as well. So that's what I would say is coming up for us and how you can support us moving forward.
And they do have the coolest socks. I'm going to he didn't pay me to say that. So the event, the Women's Summit, sorry men, no offense, it's women only, is this weekend, and I'm very, very excited about it. And really what I've been focusing on, honestly, I'm very grateful for pandemic, because before that I probably spent 80% of my time working with companies outside of Arizona, so I'm really excited to kind of be in my home state, and I really refocused my attention. We are launching something right after the summit, so Tisha, you'll have the right to say they heard it here first. We're actually going to launch a women's mastermind. I've been sitting on it for about a year. It's very, very different experience. It's going to be in person, so I'm very excited about that. And then what I'm really going to be focused on this year, for 7 years that we ran the summit, I wanted to bring more nonprofits and charities into the work, and for the first time we have charity of choice this year that we get to donate to. I'm very excited. So and you can connect with me at Olenka Cullinan, just my name on Instagram. I'm not a bot. I will respond to your messages. And what I spend my time on is, like I said, helping businesses thrive and show up for themselves.
Thank you so much, everybody. And just as I mentioned, everybody in the room gets a list of who's in the room. So remember I said no business cards, we don't need to pass business cards to everybody. That's one of the gift that I like to give, because I know you're not going to meet every single person in this room. It is physically impossible. I just took videos with everybody, but that was a lot of work. So everybody does get a list. So if you missed how to spell VoiceThreads, if you don't know Sharon's last name, know that it'll be on the list along with all the photos that Jason is taking tonight. And then Jeff here is recording this panel, so I'll be sharing that with you too if you didn't get a chance to watch all of this. So one of my favorite places to go for coffee, I have to say I'm not a Starbucks fan. I am a BlackRock fan, and there's a reason. First of all, it was like heaven when I walked in and I said, "Do you make these drinks decaf? They're specialty drinks?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." I was like, sign me up for the Mexican mocha decaf. And so I go there. And then the other thing that I really loved is I love storytelling. And on their wall, if you've ever been there, this is their logo, Fuel Your Story. And I was like, that is so perfect. So each of you has a little gift from me to thank you for being here today, to continue sharing your story. Someone told me this, and I was like, I love it. But a story never told never serves. So if you don't tell your story, you can't impact more people. And I think that all of us are here to just keep impacting more people. So keep sharing those stories. And thank you so much, Sharon, Drew, and Olenka. Let's give them a big round of applause for getting up here, for holding the date for me 2 years later. I appreciate all of them so much. Make sure you connect with them. And thanks, everybody, for coming out to Social Connect Phoenix's 2-year anniversary redo.